Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Droid Life Show CES 2014 Recap Special. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim, Eric, Dave. Everybody say hi real quick.
Hi everyone, I'm
Hello.
Dave.
Oh, whoa, just cut in right in front of me. Okay, well, hello there, Tim here. How's it going? Usually I say hello first. That's okay
Clean,
though.
clean start to the first show of the
Yeah,
year.
first show of the year. We're getting off to a good start. Hi, I'm Eric.
I'm gonna get you, Dave.
So yeah, this week was CES, Consumer Electronics Show, and Tim and I were there. Well, we were there from Sunday until yesterday. We flew home. The conference actually goes officially from Tuesday through Friday, but our week always starts sooner, press activities, things like that. And yeah, we always take off early because the show pretty much dies by Thursday and Friday. It's just meetings and stuff, which we don't really like to do all that many of with little tiny companies. So anyways, thanks for joining us. Special Friday broadcast. We're just going to kind of talk through CES and what we saw, what we liked, what we hated. Michael Bay, gold phones, AT&T sponsored data, T-Mobile's John Ledger. What a boss that guy is. And yeah, we'll just kind of whip through it all. Share your thoughts in the chat, if you will, and we will share ours. So let's just start off. If you guys have one offhand, best thing that happened at CES. Anyone?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there's a few big things. I mean, I kind of enjoyed, as much as it seems like it's kind of always overhyped, but Nvidia, I loved, like, they had their press conference on Sunday, kind of right before the kickoff of CES on Monday, and I enjoyed the presentation. I mean, Tegra K1, so with a 192-core GPU, and then we got to see a demo of it in action, and I'm ready for that thing to hit devices. You know, unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to have much like smartphone adoption, kind of like what we saw with the Tegra 4. I think Nvidia sort of focuses more so on like the gaming, so micro consoles, clamshells, and tablets and stuff that I don't necessarily find myself too interested in. But I still think that you know, Nvidia is moving forward with trying to like break new ground and innovate in the mobile processor space. And I think that that's good. Although then I argue the same point all the time that the processors is going, you know, ahead of like really what's necessary for a smartphone, but at the same time you still want those people trying to make them better, you know, and I still want Samsung and LG to make displays better. I want, you know, phones to be a little bit be able to handle bigger batteries. So I think it's all kind of going into the same place, where soon, maybe in like a year or so, we're going to see these phones that have crazy high-res displays, super fast processors, bigger batteries. And so I'm liking the future. So I don't think CES to me was at least about one announcement, but a combination of a few, and maybe like next year or a year, you know, after that, we'll start seeing some like crazy cool like phones and tablets and all that. So
Yeah, because NVIDIA, once again, no hardware, just hey, new processor.
yeah, well, it was funny.
Nothing runs it.
They showed off when we did the demo. They showed off the K1 running on a Tegra Note 7, which was like a developer edition, which had like 4 gigs of RAM. This thing was a total beast, and it was just flying through. It was running Jelly Bean, you know, so it was just killing it, and it was crazy. It was cool, and you know, they said they were just able to pop out the Tegra 4 and throw in the K1. So I mean, you know, they already have their own little line of hardware, you know, so why not put out like a new edition of Shield maybe that has K1? Or a new edition of the Tegra Note 7 that has K1 or something. I mean, they do have some hardware, and they have hardware partners where they could like try and really, you know, kick out the K1 instead of like waiting for it like we did for the Tegra 4. So
Yeah, they do have hardware partners. Obviously, they wouldn't dive into specifics on that, but still,
right.
no. I'd imagine though. So yeah, you were talking about that unit they were using to show demo, and it was running. I mean, it was running the new chip, that tab that we showed. So I can't imagine, yeah, why they wouldn't be able to push out like a Tegra Note 7 K1 edition pretty easily.
That'd
You
be
know,
dope.
just slap like an extra $100 price tag on it or something. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
What about you guys? Eric, Dave, I know you guys sort of took it in from afar, but anything stand out at CES?
Well, I think Tim put it pretty well, that it was more about a series of announcements more than, you know, one big one. I don't think anybody necessarily really stole the show, I guess. But for me, I guess T-Mobile, made a pretty big impact. At least, from the outside looking in, I feel like their press conference and announcement had the most, impact and newsworthiness. I guess the word I would use. I definitely feel like they're moving in the right direction, and CES was, a nice pulpit to preach their uncarrier stuff from.
So I was at that press event, and John Ledger, the guy, serious. Okay, so little backstory, right? He obviously tried to crash the AT&T party that Macklemore was playing at, right? And so as we're sitting there before the press event starts, that's all that's playing, the music before. It's just Macklemore, like every hit. I think he's only had like 2 or 3 hits, but they're just playing like his whole album, I think, actually. So he's kind of trolling the whole situation before he even comes on stage. And the guy comes on stage and just starts taking shots. So he doesn't hold back whatsoever. He called Ralph De La Vega fat, AT&T's like mobile. He basically goes, yeah, Ralph was on stage and he's lost a lot of weight, but, actually, and he stopped himself and he goes, actually, I liked Ralph a lot better when he was fat. And I just kind of went, holy, does he really just call Ralph De La Vega fat? And he was just trashing on Sprint. He kept calling their Spark network spanky, and he gave Verizon credit initially for admitting that their LTE network is overwhelmed, and he said, thanks for being upfront, and then he started attacking them on something else. I can't remember what it was. It's just an interesting guy, and he's so fiery and passionate. I mean, he was talking trash about, because he's from Boston, I think, originally, but he's a Yankees fan, and some guy from the Boston Globe or something was there, and he said, "Oh, thanks for being here. We're from the same town." He's like, "But I'm still a Yankees fan," just to get the guy fired. I mean, it's just like things like that. He just never stops. So yeah, I would say T-Mobile as well. That just listening to their whole, I guess their whole vibe that they give off in person like that, they really are attacking the industry, and they really are trying to change it. I think we all have to understand that they're still making money, and they're going to try to make money. So in the end, that's still a part of the equation for them. But they really are getting rid of all the crap that we complain about a lot, like ETF fees. They're like paying those off if you'll come try them out. They've obviously changed the way contracts work and trying to get rid of subsidies. I don't know, interesting stuff. And T-Mobile. So another point on that is they were asked, or John Ledger was asked afterwards in a Q&A if what's up with the Sprint rumors of acquiring them, and he didn't deny that that's going to happen. He just sort of talked about how, our brand and our sort of way of thinking is here to stay. So I think he really feels like what they're doing is really going to change the way the industry works, and I hope he's right, because we all know how terrible the wireless industry actually is, but we can't get away from it. So anyways, Dave, what do you got?
Well, I mean, just to add on to that, I do think what T-Mobile is really exciting, just to see them kind of be more like a human company instead of just like a company where everyone's like robotic and this is the proper way to handle, a press conference, or to, they're really just kind of bringing a fresh, like, alive perspective to, like, hey, we're made of people too. We're not just, a corporation robotic. But that wasn't the big thing for me. For me, it was Crystal Cove, the Oculus Rift update. I think that was my favorite piece to come from CES.
I have no idea what that is.
You ever heard of the Oculus Rift?
I know the Oculus Rift is, but the Crystal Cove thing, whatever you're talking about, I saw it mentioned somewhere, but I don't really know what it is.
That's what they're calling their current hardware that they just demoed at CES, and essentially it's got a 1080p screen now. They've upgraded that. They've gotten rid of the motion blur, and they have new tracking. So it used to be that you wore it and it just kind of took your movements, left and right, but there wasn't really a lot of spatial awareness to it. But the new one, it actually comes and it reads the movements from you. So like if you move forward, your view would actually move forward in the game. Huh. So there's a lot more, like, it feels a lot more fluid, and like it's actually letting you look around instead of robotic left and right, up and down.
Interesting. We saw it a couple places, and we both decided that we didn't want our face in the same spot that 120,000 other people's face was. Because they were demoing it all over, but yeah, we didn't really want to get that dirty.
Can't do
all
that.
All that nerd sweat.
Yeah, seriously.
It's not the nerds you have to really worry about. It's just like other. You don't want to get like bird flu. You know, like you see people walking around who sneeze and they don't like cover like their mouth or they touch their hands and then it's touching phones and it's a nightmare. It's like a disease nightmare.
At one point, I handed Tim some hand sanitizer and he goes, "What's up with your sanitizer? It's burning my hand." And I think we both realized it wasn't just the hand sanitizer, it was the fact that we had put it on probably like a dozen times that day, and it was just burning our hands off at that point.
Yeah, gotta do it, though.
Yeah, you have to live with that stuff. All right, cool. I don't know that I necessarily had a specific best thing. Like I said, I like the T-Mobile stuff. We'll talk about some of the other stuff later, but it was just another one of those years that while there was a lot of cool stuff happening, not necessarily Android related, and the mobile stuff, you know, it's still sort of lacking. I should have a moment. I just really don't. There was a lot of trash talking going on. Maybe that's my best thing. John Ledger trash talking. Qualcomm was taking digs at Nvidia during their event. It seemed like everyone was just taking jabs all over the place at each other.
It was a jab fest.
It was a jab fest. Worst thing. You guys have a worst thing from CES? Could be a moment, could be a product, it could be something someone said.
Well, it was funny because so last year we had our Dennis Rodman encounter, and even this year, even though Dennis Rodman was thousands of miles away, he still found a way to stole the show for us.
He did.
And just and making headlines. It's fantastic.
Worst moment, no Dennis Rodman.
No Dennis Rodman, but still Dennis Rodman, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, other than that, yeah, there really wasn't, from the personal experience, I mean, cab lines are always ridiculous, but in terms of the tech, no, nothing that I would label as the worst thing at CES. Maybe things that were, overhyped or something. I don't know, like the Samsung tablets, they're going to make the rounds, but being a Sprint tablet with TouchWiz that was totally laggy, and even though they'll say that those were pre-production models, I guarantee that's what's going to ship.
It was so bad. It was super. Yeah, they kept saying to us, these are it's prototype stuff, it's pre-release stuff, and they were so laggy.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. So that's probably what'll launch, and it's going to be just the same old. And how can you have so many effing tablets?
You need 4 new tablets.
Yeah, exactly. Why? I can understand the sizes, but then again, you have a Note Pro and a Tab Pro, both 12.2 inches. The only difference being an S Pen. Make people spend the extra $50 or whatever to get the Note Pro. Why even have the Tab Pro? It seems like a waste of space.
And they still have their really cheap Tab line that just doesn't say Pro at the end, right? You can still get a Tab 3 or whatever they call them. Yeah,
still get Galaxy Tab 10.1 2014 edition, and there will be more of those, and that's so confusing. If I had no idea, what was going on as a regular consumer, I would just be like, Samsung is oversaturating right now.
Oh my gosh. We thought that those days were coming to a close, yeah.
No.
Eric, anything standing out as being not so fun from CES?
Nothing really that bad. I mean, we kind of hinted about it yesterday when the FCC commented about it, but AT&T's sponsored data doesn't really seem to be as cool as it was first advertised, but I feel like we'll get into that a little bit later. So
yeah, we can talk.
Nothing really, terrible happened. Nothing bad got announced. Just kind of. It was a very middle of the road CES.
It was.
Yeah, after last year's overhyping of Shield and the tragedy that was, I've decided I'm not going to overhype anything. Although I'm going to go back to the best thing at CES and maybe. Kind of alongside Nvidia, maybe that wasn't the best thing, but I'm digging the Razer Nabu smartband. After seeing that, I'm way more into smartbands than I am a smart watch, because if a smartband can kind of do the same thing but kind of lack some of the gimmicky crap, such as a camera or a huge display, and still function really well, and then and be priced cheaply apparently, then I'm really excited about that stuff. So.
If that wristband can do half the stuff that it said that it could at launch,
I
was watching that video, it will be fantastic hit.
No, absolutely, I agree. So, it's exciting.
Dave, got anything?
I just think there's too many wearables coming out. I
Thank
think
you.
that's
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to, stick their finger in the cookie jar and all that. And
Yeah, I mean, we didn't. Okay, so unless you have anything else to add to
no.
that,
I
Dave.
mean, that's it. That
Too
just,
many wearables.
there's too many of them. I can't even talk about it. There's
Yeah, so we didn't really cover many. Tim went and found the Razer Nabu thing, which is pretty cool. I looked briefly at LG's Lifeband Touch. Sony announced one. Who was it? Jaybird had one that we saw that was actually kind of cool because it was more just like a rubber band. Everyone's got one. So this is the thing for me, at least with these, is a lot of the whole workout band thing. And maybe it's because I've started with the fuel band, but part of it is like having a community of friends that all have similar products, right? So if everyone's making a fitness band, none of your friends are ever going to have the same one. Like you all sort of either have to decide to buy one together, or nobody has one, and then you sort of lose that competitive, that sharing, all of that stuff. And so if everyone's got a fitness band out there, you're sort of like on your own, and part of the whole idea with working out is to work out with people, especially nowadays. There's CrossFit and all that stuff, but there's all these workouts now are supposed to be about group settings and motivating each other. Otherwise, you get bored, right? And if you spread that out and everyone has a different wearable, you just kind of lose fun in it. So I'm with you, Dave. Too many damn wearables, and we didn't even look at any of the terrible smartwatches that are out there. Seriously, every company. So Tim and I always do this yearly walk through. The back end of the South Hall at CES, and the back end of the South Hall is where people don't speak English for the most part, and it's knockoff after knockoff after knockoff, and we just walk through and laugh at all this stuff. And I think everyone had a smartwatch back there, and they ran Android, and I'm sure you'll be able to buy them someday, and they'll be terrible. And they'll be probably worse than the Galaxy Gear. So, yeah, the whole wearable thing just kind of went overkill. Hopefully, there's a couple that end up standing out. Maybe it'll be this Razer Nabu, but yeah, I was a little bit overwhelmed by the wearables.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, you guys want to talk about Michael Bay real quick?
Yeah, poor Michael Bay. Guy had a rough day.
Michael Bay, the most viral thing to happen at CES.
Yeah.
Well, him and John Ledger.
it just really bugs me that he couldn't talk about his own stuff,
Right.
Without a teleprompter, and B, the guy who's on stage that's supposed to know all about the product couldn't actually talk about the product without the prompter either. He's just like, hey, the Curve, your movies, are we any good?
The Curve? Yeah. Yeah. So for those that missed it, I'm sure you didn't, but Michael Bay was at Samsung's press event, and they brought him out as a special guest to sort of talk about his career and his movies and experiencing them on, Samsung's new flexible Curve UHD TVs and all this stuff. And he came out and, well, this is how it went down for us anyway. He came out and he kind of said something, and it started off a little mumbly and a little weird, and then all of a sudden he turned around and got frustrated. And we went, wait, what's going on? And we thought it was a joke. So he came back and goes, the prompter's all screwed up. I guess we'll just wing it, something like that. And he tried to go for another, 15, 20 seconds. And then, the other guy on stage helping sort of tried to lead him in. And then he just totally gave up and walked off. And we sat there in the audience going,
Weird.
What the hell just happened? Yeah, we thought it was a joke, and then you quickly realize it wasn't when the Samsung guys started apologizing. And then they had to fix the prompter on stage quickly, which they actually did fairly quickly. Super awkward. So then Michael Bay actually comes out after the show and admits that he's the one that actually screwed up. And he came out and started reading the other guy's lines, screwed the teleprompter operator up, and then that just screwed everything up. And he said he embarrassed himself. And we all sort of joked behind the scenes that we're assuming he released that statement because Samsung paid him a ton of money and was like, you need to live up to what we paid you or something. But anyway, so it was super embarrassing and crazy and hilarious all at the same time, and it sort of just went viral. Like I was telling Tim before we went on, my brother emailed me during the show and was like, how's Michael Bay? Haha, everyone saw that thing. So yeah. But as Dave said, the fact that he couldn't just wing it, this is a guy that's supposed to be super passionate. I mean, he blows things up for a living and is kind of out there, and he couldn't just talk about how awesome his movies are.
Well, he CGI blows things up for a living.
Okay, that's true.
They blow some real things up, I'm sure.
Sometimes.
No, they use real explosions.
Yeah. I think we're talking like about space. Like I don't think we can get like space explosions.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael Bay. It was really embarrassing. Me and Kellen were just laughing the whole time. After like once he left, we were like, "This is the best part of CES. Like highlight reel #1 right here, Michael Bay."
We just stopped paying attention because I think after the TVs, it went into appliances and stuff, and we just kept talking about Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. We're like, "Bring Michael Bay back." But yeah, it was pretty awkward and intense.
It was.
Yeah.
So let's talk this AT&T sponsored data thing that Eric brought up, which, if it turns out, at least in my personal opinion, if it turns out to be okayed essentially by the FCC, like the FCC doesn't ever decide to intervene there, it could be disastrous, I think, for everyone when all other carriers start doing this. But basically they said they're going to allow content partners, OEMs, whoever wants to do it, essentially, any advertiser, if you will, can let customers of AT&T download products, and they will basically pay for the data, so it doesn't go against their bill, right? That's one piece of it. They're also now promoting it as a great new advertising opportunity for just about anyone, all sorts of things, right? So it's come under fire. The FCC said we might look into it if it looks really shady, and AT&T said it's fine, it's not shady, we don't violate any net neutrality rules or anything like that. And the discussion, I don't think's really ended since they announced it. So what do you guys think about all this stuff, this AT&T sponsored data?
I was there when they announced that.
That's right, you were there when they announced that.
Yeah, and at first they made it sound really cool. And
free data.
Yeah, I was like, oh, free data, that's cool. I mean, it makes sense. I'm kind of surprised people haven't done this before. They kept referencing it to like or comparing it to like a 1-800 number, and toll free, but you get what they're advertising, but it doesn't go towards your bill and all that. And I was like, this sounds cool, and it'd be really cool to see, like a few companies take advantage of this, or like if they're like an artist and their music production company or whatever, like sponsored a song download or something, like just if you're at the bus stop, download Michael Bay's new trailer for whatever, or a song, whatever.
Right.
That would just be cool. I think it would add a lot of engagement, just on the street engagement. It could just be anywhere, and someone could just stop and engage in that content and media and all that, and that'd be great. I'm a total media consumer person, so gotta have it, and I like downloading stuff. So if it doesn't go against my bill, that's cool, and yeah, that'd be great, especially on someone who like has like a limited data plan and all that. It could be really, really cool for them.
Which is another way they're selling it, is because everyone has tiered data, which we invented.
Exactly.
You other two, you guys have thoughts on sponsored data?
I am not a fan.
Yeah.
Or you want to elaborate on that, Dave?
I mean, come on, what are we doing here? We're like, hey, you pay, we'll get stuff to it, and the next thing you know, it's going to be, hey, we're going to cut off, their other traffic and make sure that gets to them quicker. Like they're going to start making sure those packets get delivered before the other ones, and no, we're still giving them the internet. We're just, we're letting this stuff come through.
Because they paid for it.
Because they paid for it, so...
I mean, it has the chance to be really cool, but it's got the potential for people to use it the wrong way.
Now, would we be complaining if it was Google that was like, hey, we're going to pay all YouTube bandwidth? So that's not going to go against, your data plan. So everyone's watching video because they want to get the advertising off of it, right? So they cover all of that bandwidth transfer, and then that helps people to, because think about how much video takes up, in your monthly allotment.
Yeah, I think, like if you use an example like that, I don't know that any of us would complain if Google paid for all of our YouTube streaming. That would probably be awesome. I think the problem just kind of goes back to what you said about paid content will always win then, essentially, or whoever's paying AT&T. So while YouTube might be awesome, like if I want to go to, CBS Sports to get my news instead of ESPN, but they've partnered with ESPN, maybe CBS is a terrible experience because, like their apps throttled basically because they didn't pay more. And I know they won't ever tell us that they would throttle anyone else. They would just say, well, these guys paid or something. But I just think it sets a really, really bad sort of idea in stone that could potentially just get worse. You know, if Verizon were to do it as well, they have all of their partners that they've sort of already established with that would probably fork out money right now, like, you know, ESPN being one of those, or the NFL Network or something like that. And then that shuts other people out. And again, we don't know exactly how that's going to work for people not paying for stuff. Like, I don't know that they've said necessarily, like, we're going to make this better for this company because they're paying for sponsor type stuff. But I think we all sort of have a feeling of that's where it could go. And then you start worrying about, you know, AT&T, Verizon, whoever controlling your experience on the internet. And that's where you start running into net neutrality stuff, because that should never happen. It's the internet. It's supposed to be wide open. You're not supposed to be controlled by anyone other than, you know, the speed you pay for or something like that from your provider. So I just think it could turn into such a really ugly, terrible thing. So I guess kind of we'll see. They also are advertising it as this is a great new advertising medium. So, you know, does that mean when I go, well, actually in their little commercial, they showed a guy going to a movie and getting a pop-up on his phone, basically, that was like a trailer or something. Like, I don't know that I want to be walking around. It's bad enough when I have Wi-Fi toggled and I drive by a Starbucks and AT&T goes, we connected you, you're by Starbucks. You know, I don't like that. So I certainly don't want to go to Taco Bell and have AT&T spamming me with ads just because Taco Bell paid them. So, you know, things like that, but I don't think it's a good idea personally.
And I think you can. There's a fair case to say that, you know, you could crack down on the active, you know, of that throttling kind of stuff. But the more secondary problem that this would have is if a company, you know, say Angry Birds or something, pays, you know, for their app to be downloaded for free, and then AT&T tells everybody, that app is going to immediately shoot right to the top of every download list and just kill everything underneath it. You know, there's going to be no reason to get any other games or to look, you know, anywhere else because AT&T's telling you that this app is free, that, you know, they paid for it. So
it's like buying downloads, which probably violates every app store.
You know, and I feel that, and that's not really like something that AT&T's actively, you know,
right.
You know, trying to put down the smaller developers, but it just, you know, promotes this culture of if you give us money, you're going to instantly get more downloads just because you paid for it, you know. So.
Yeah, I think this, you know, the thing that this really shows is that all these companies, they well, obviously they realized long ago that all their money going in the future is through data, you know, which is why they threw everyone on tiered data plans. This is just another proof of that they're going to do whatever they can with data and their high-speed networks to create little. They're not loopholes, but create programs and ideas that can help monetize that further, which is something that all companies do. I'm not going to like knock them for creating this idea. I just don't think this is a good one for anyone except AT&T. So, guess we'll see how it plays out. We will see probably soon enough. I don't know, Tim. Did they say when this program is going live, or is it already? Like, can you buy? Can we put like Droid Life on everyone's like homepage in Google Chrome or something if they have an AT&T phone?
That'd be nice, but no, they said, you know, sometime later this year. I think it was like Q1, Q2.
Okay. Oh, they also announced what HD voice is coming at some point and VoLTE.
They just said it was going to come with the Asus PadFone X or whatever.
Okay.
They didn't have a date. I think they said like Q2, Q3 for that. So.
Okay. Oh yeah, that was another thing T-Mobile bashed them about. They're like, we've had HD voice for months, and they're just announcing that it's coming someday. It's funny.
Yeah.
Those guys can't say anything now without John Ledger attacking them. Yeah. Oh, so Tim and I got to play with the gold HTC One, the actual 18-karat gold HTC One. You want to share any thoughts on that thing?
Oh, the Baller Edition? Yeah. I spotted that thing from across the room. It was shine bright like a diamond.
Did it blind you?
Yeah. It was nice. No, it did not blind me. It was actually perfect. I was like, wow, this is way cooler than I thought it was going to be. It felt like gold. It was like it felt really great. All of a sudden, you get this good feeling in your body, and you're just like, oh yeah, you know, because we are beings of energy, and yeah. So it was really nice. I dug it. I like that, we got some good pictures of it,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to use those maybe sometime in the future if we ever have to talk about the gold one. But
clearly the most impractical idea ever, but still cool. I mean,
Yeah.
you could see the scuffs like up in the earpiece. Somebody had clearly been talking on this thing, and it was all scuffed up by the ear.
yeah, I'm sure it gets scratched super easily. You'd have to like put a nice little case over it and then put it in your pocket maybe or something.
Yeah.
It's just very impractical. Still look great. I mean,
Look
still
great.
saying crap Sense software in my opinion. I think Sense is crap. But yeah, other than that, it was good.
Yeah,
It
it was
was
a lot
bling
lighter
out.
than I thought it would be. I thought it was gonna be really heavy, but
Yeah, no, it's nice and light. Surprisingly light.
surprisingly light.
Yeah, they actually had all the colors there lined up. We just didn't care. Like that, the blue, the red, the black, and
They
all
had
of
the
them on
gold.
table look good.
They had their actual gold one, the like
The
production model
European,
gold.
yeah, the European gold champagne, and
Yeah, we didn't really care. We said, "Oh, just let us take pictures of your gold one. We'll
of
move
the
on."
gold. Exactly.
Yeah, so HTC, I don't know if we can talk about them for a second, but they were there at CES. They were at PepCom, which is sort of a side party gathering of booths that we go to every year for press. And they had this really sad booth. It was a black table, or I'm sorry, a table with a black tablecloth on it, and like a little paper printout sign that said HTC.
HTC.
Wow.
And they had two of their PR guys there, and that was it. And they just had their one Max, one Mini, and then the one in all of its colors, plus the gold one laying there. And I mean, that was it.
That was
they didn't
it.
have anything to announce. They said, "Look at all of our colors," and we just said, "Let's take pictures of the gold one." And yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I feel bad for HTC. They're still a mega company, but it's not looking pretty on any level for HTC. No
Well-
press party this year either from them.
No,
I guess you could say they're putting their money elsewhere.
Well, they don't have
Clearly.
any left.
Yeah.
Didn't the earnings get announced from them right before CES started, and they only reason they made like 10 million or 80 million was because they sold off the rest of their Beats stake. Otherwise, it would have been another like multi-million-dollar loss.
Man,
It was something bad. So yeah, it's not looking good there. HTC. Let's talk. Oh, so new devices. Let's just kind of run through this list, and maybe you guys can just share if any of them stood out to you. We got the new Xperias from Sony. We got the Z1S going to T-Mobile, and the Xperia Compact. I'm sorry, Xperia Z1 Compact. Yeah, Z1 Compact. LG's G Flex isn't new, but we finally got our hands on it. Samsung, as Tim mentioned, announced 4 new tablets. They also had the Galaxy Camera 2 on hand, which we went hands-on with. Asus announced the PadFone X, so the PadFone concept finally coming to the U.S. And who else had something? Well, Asus had some other phones, but they're terrible mid-range phones that are going to international markets that you won't ever want. Am I missing anyone? Did anybody else announce any devices? There really wasn't many.
Nope.
Like Tim and I busted all of that out in like a 2-hour span, and we said, "Okay, now what?"
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Yeah. So, anyways, Tim, any of those devices? Did you kind of go, "This is a sweet one. I could maybe buy this someday"?
Nope. I like how everyone was talking about the Xperia Z1 Compact. Nope.
Or the Z1 Compact if you're Euro.
Yes, the Z1 Compact. Thank you. I love America. Yeah, no. Just nothing really. I like the G Flex. I like that. I just wish it was a little bit smaller. Maybe had a 1080p display. But when you're talking 6 inches, 720p, you're looking at pixels. And I want that to be a little bit. I don't want that to be there anymore. Because on the Moto X it's okay because the display is smaller, so they're more compact and not so wide apart or spread apart. So the Samsung tablets. Man, I mean, I'm kind of a meh tablet guy anyways. I can dig the Nexus 7. I'm really digging the, what is the LG G-Pad 8.3 Google Play Edition. I'm liking that tablet, but I'm not a PadFone guy. I'm not a Sony guy because I can't stand their skin. While, the hardware is kind of cool and the cameras seem okay, but then they get reviewed and they're actually not that good. I don't know, I mean, I'm just hard to please. So I'm waiting for Galaxy S5, HTC One, 2, and I have to put the space, and yeah, I'm waiting. Or like the LG G2 2, that'll be sweet. And yeah, you know what? I take that, but the Galaxy,
G3.
yeah, the Galaxy Camera 2. I kind of like that. I rocked the Galaxy camera, the original, for a while, and decent sensor. The software needed an upgrade, and the camera was already kind of light, but now they've made it lighter. It does seem a lot faster. It has the same 16.3 megapixel sensor as the last one, but it has OIS, which I think the previous one did too. But
it did, yeah.
It seemed like an overall better package. I know it's probably going to be priced ridiculously, so most people are going to say, screw that, and it runs janky Android. Like, why would I want to pay that much for that? So, yeah, that jank. And so, yeah, nothing really stood out for me, unfortunately. I'm kind of bummed, that nothing stood out. But
sad.
It is what it is.
Eric, favorite device that was announced, maybe?
I was actually going to say I like the Galaxy Camera 2 as well. But like you guys said, there wasn't really that much announced. I'm flabbergasted. Another conference goes by, another Sony announcement of phones that we will never see, and they will never make a dent in the American market because I don't know what they're thinking. I guess they're okay with how they're doing now, just being a small market on AT&T and even smaller on T-Mobile.
Okay, thank you.
I don't get it. I don't know what their game plan is. They come over here and they're like, look at all these new phones, but none of you are ever going to see them because we're not going to put any push behind them. I just don't get it.
The Z1S is coming to T-Mobile, but it's basically the Z1 that was announced in IFA, like end of August, early September. So it's a phone that's been out for 4 months now, and it's finally coming to the U.S. No one cares.
Sony just confuses me when it comes to their phones.
Yeah, and someone asked in the chat about the pricing for the Z1S, and it's going to be $528 full retail or $22 a month on a plan through T-Mobile.
And the compact, we don't know if that's coming, right?
It was not confirmed for U.S. carriers, although we would hope that maybe someone picks it up. Although I don't see that happening.
They will in like 6 months when it's irrelevant.
Yeah, 6 months.
It's just like Sony, they put together some nice looking hardware. I agree. I think their software sucks too, but
it does.
Just like, man, what are you doing? Like, are you purposely not trying to come to America? Because you're doing
Sony?
Pretty good at it. Yeah, Sony.
Well, I think they're taking it slow. I mean, when you're gonna hit, the U.S. hard, you have to worry about Samsung.
Well, I mean, it's always been like that. I think what's been their greatest, if you say Sony Xperia device, I immediately think of Play. The Xperia Play is the only thing that comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I think they just have, better efforts, in Japan and parts of Europe and all that. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm sure
if that's what they want to do, then.
Yeah, I just don't know. To meet their goals, I don't know if the U.S. is quite as necessary. Maybe, I'm sure they could say we want to hit the American market hard, and we want to hit the Chinese market hard, but at the same time, I don't know if it's really necessary or if they're going to stick to that. I don't know. Sony, they're just not a player in my book as of right now. They're not on my team, so and that's fine.
So unfortunate because we need a new player because HTC is about to die. So
HTC's about to die.
We need a new player to stand up. Yeah.
Well,
I don't want it to be Huawei.
It's not going to be Huawei. LG's been stepping up, and you have to give it to Motorola. They're coming through. I mean, we should expect good things from Motorola and LG in 2014. So nothing that'll probably compare to the marketing efforts of Samsung, but at the same time, you've got to give it to those guys. They're coming back. So,
yeah. Dave, did you like any of the announced phones, tablets that were announced, Android related?
None of them really, caught my interest. So.
Yeah.
None that you need to pick up to develop for or anything like that.
No, I'll wait and see what we have in the next couple of months. We're about to get into new phone speculation anyway. So.
Yeah, we are. Probably any day now we're going to start getting HTC One 2 rumors, and because we're going to start creeping on MWC, which is when everything starts getting announced at its own press event. So I would say the PadFone X is probably the most interesting of them for me anyway, because I've been a PadFone homer forever.
Were a huge PadFone original guy.
I've been waiting for that damn thing, and no one would take it. Carriers were hating all over it. So AT&T getting it, but they'll overprice it. like they'll make the tablet shell its own $300 device or something, and so that will suck. But that could be cool. Although AT&T and Asus both didn't really want to talk about it, they announced it and said it'll do LTE Advanced and VoLTE and HD voice. And then they didn't really give us a date that it was coming, and they wouldn't even tell us specs. Like they just said it. Like if you look at the official press list for it, it says
Next gen Snapdragon processor.
Yeah, it says the newest Snapdragon processor. It wasn't
they haven't
specific.
even put it together yet. They've just got
And
all
it says
pieces
the
lying
newest
around.
version of Android, which
That could be anything. Is that
Yeah.
gonna be Kitty Cat or Jelly Bean? Don't
yeah.
know.
So they wouldn't really talk about any of it, which was really odd. But again, I do like the concept, so maybe that'll be it. Otherwise, the Xperia Z1 Compact was kind of a cool idea. They basically did what Motorola tried to do by creating a smaller compact phone that's still like a high-end device, except they actually put high-end specs in it. It's got a 720p display, but it has what should be a class-leading camera and a Snapdragon 800 all in a tiny little body. So that's kind of a cool idea. But yeah, if we don't see it in the U.S. for 6 months, who cares, right? By then we're gonna have the Galaxy S5 and the new HTC One, and probably closing in on a new Moto X, things like that. So yeah, Sony, you got to do stuff in a timely manner, and no one is going to care in the U.S. So.
Moto Z.
I guess. Oh yeah, you know what?
Moto Z.
Worst thing is CES. Motorola not really coming through on talking about wood backs or anything. They gave like a general more materials coming later this year. I'm like, I'm not. If they release wood backs or additional wood backs, it would need to be today. Because I'm not going to do it next week, because by the time...
Phone's not getting younger, yeah.
Exactly. It's going to be completely out of date.
I mean, unless their plan is just to update the inside, so they're getting it so that they have the whole materials process set up where you can have these kinds of backs, and then we're going to see an internal, it'll be the Moto X 2014 edition and has, some newer insides, but they're going to still...
Badass.
I mean, to me, if they've invested this much in the whole assembly process and they're getting all this put down, don't waste that. People like the way the phone looks. Just pull an iPhone, give us the same looking device with some new crap on the inside.
Yeah, I feel like they're in it for the long run at this point. They're just kind of getting stuff set up.
Well, so let's talk about Moto for a second. I had to sit down with a couple of Moto execs while we were there, and they didn't really say all that much. I asked them what they were doing in London, because they have a press event there on January 14th, and obviously all they would say is, yes, we have something, we'll let you speculate. And, one of our readers found a job posting in the UK for Motorola that said Moto Maker's basically coming there, so you can imagine it's going to be the Moto X. We'll probably get Moto Maker for Europe. I would assume that also means they must be building a plant over there to do Moto Maker stuff. I can't imagine they would assemble everything in Texas and ship it overseas. That would be way too not cost efficient. I asked them, where the other wood backs were, and they said, actually it was funny. So I was talking to Steve Horowitz, which is one of the guys. I believe he used to work with Google on the Android team, and he's now with Motorola. And he also admitted that he was corrected a number of times that bamboo is not wood. I remember I got a bunch of hate for that. Everyone's like, bamboo's not wood. So
God, it's a weed.
Motorola senior VP also did the same thing. So anyways, they said, expect more, materials. They wouldn't say if ebony, rosewood, and teak are coming. They just kind of said expect more. We want to make sure everything's done right and all sorts of stuff like that. So they were pretty vague on that. I asked them about Project Aura, and they said, we just saw one of the Project Aura leads not that long ago, and they said they're still working on it, making progress, but nothing to announce. I asked them if they were interested in wearables, and they, I said, you guys did the Moto Active. What about now? And basically, we want to do it right, just like the Moto X. We want it to be perfect. And they also kind of said to me, though, they don't feel like smart watches necessarily are something that everyone must have right now. It almost sounded like they would maybe lean towards a fitness band, maybe. I'll have to go back and listen to my interview. I may transcribe that for you guys. But that's the impression I got, was maybe more like smart band type stuff rather than a watch. But Moto Maker, I basically said, like, are you guys invested in this? And they said, yeah, we really like this, so that's not going anywhere. They also, I asked them about, you know, dropping the full retail price of the Moto X to $399. Said, is that something you guys are going to continue to do going forward? Is the whole price thing? And they sort of kept hammering home this point that it's all about value with them. And not necessarily value meaning cheap, but value with a great product, you know, like we sort of saw with the Moto X. So, yeah, they wouldn't really tell me much. Everything was pretty vague, but I did have a chance. So, yeah, maybe I will try to transcribe that for everyone for this weekend or something. But, yeah, so Motorola, they were there. They were meeting. They had all sorts of meetings set up with different blogs, and they had executives, and, you know, they still announced nothing. So they wanted to talk a lot about the Moto G, and I'm sorry, I just don't care about the Moto G.
Moto G, $100 POS.
It's a nice little phone. It is.
It's not a POS. Come on, it's $99. It's a great phone for $99.
I'm not saying it's not a bad phone for $99. I'm just calling it a POS. Like I wouldn't use it. I myself personally wouldn't use it. So like, you know, when I want to get a phone, you know, I'll probably spend a little bit more than $99 because I want something that, you know, is good.
Well, the thing is, it's not marketed to you.
I know, absolutely.
It's not for you.
So I'm the Android elitist calling it a POS, and I don't even think it's a POS. For $99, it is great. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you know, it's not for me.
Yeah, I can't call it a POS. It's a pretty damn good phone for $99. I just don't, you know, it's a $99 phone.
Exactly.
I don't think the world needs to continue talking about the Moto G.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad.
That's just sort of how I feel about it.
Calling it a POS.
So yeah, that was my chat with Motorola. They're, you know, they sound. I tried to get them to tell me what their like favorite moment of 2013 was for their company, and as the interview went on, they kept coming up with new things. It was sort of interesting, but I think basically they love Moto G, what they did there. I think they love all the feedback they got. I think what they said, the KitKat updates, doing that in, you know, under 3 weeks, they were super excited about that, which I tried to give them props for. Actually, they corrected me. They said it was 19 days to be exact. So
ooh, get your facts straight, man.
Yep. So yeah, that was Motorola. No announcements, just stuff. What else do we have to talk about? Well, we kind of talked about wearables. Wearables were everywhere, and we sort of got overwhelmed by wearables. And I sort of do feel like this was the year for wearables, like 2 years ago was for the Android tablet. Everyone did it because it was cheap to do, and it was sort of the it thing. But there's just so many, nothing stands out or makes me all that excited about that. Like a couple years ago when we were covering tablets, everyone had a tablet. And everyone had multiple tablets. I remember like Toshiba was doing 15-inch tablets or something at the time. I can't remember what it was. They had a whole like 3 line of tablets. You know, LG had some. No, LG didn't. That's right. They took a few years off. Samsung always had a couple. Acer had a bunch. What are some of those smaller companies though that Arcos always has like 8 tablets? You know, and it just like watered the whole industry down and made it be terrible. So I have this feeling that the fitness band era is now upon us and is going to be terrible. So
yeah, wearables.
Yeah, we could move out of there. Eric, you mentioned cars, that you wrote up like a dozen car-related Android mobile posts. You want to just give some thoughts on the whole car scene?
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show started, and you know, we kind of talked about, you know, you guys just talked about your displeasure with how many wearables, but for me, there was way too many like car entertainment system stuff being announced here. Like, in a world where we are texting and driving is like the worst thing that you can do now, and you know, people are getting pulled over and tickets written for wearing Google Glass. We're throwing Android in the dashboard. We're throwing Android in the entertainment system, you know, there. And then there's even a company that's got a little Android screen that's going up in your rear view mirror too. So, you know, normally you'd have like a backup cam up there that kind of turns on and then it goes reflective again when it's not there. But now that's going to be an Android screen. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I understand, like, to a point, but doing way too much for the car, I think. It was like when CES first started and the automotive stuff started coming in, and Google announced the Android Open Alliance for you know,
Yeah,
the auto,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, and then it started to come in like an avalanche. More companies. SwiftKey is even getting in
Yeah.
their keyboard in a couple of things. I'm like, all right, we probably need to slow down a little bit here.
They got to go somewhere, right? All the cell phone numbers are starting to level off or decline, and tablets obviously. So now they have to move into something. So now it's going to be cars and wearables. That's what we're looking at. Because what did Samsung announce their preliminary numbers or something, or their guidance or something for Q4, and all of their smartphone numbers were way down and stuff like that. So yeah, it's time for cars.
AT&T was like, hey, here, we can put some LTE in your car, and then they were like, sorry, we're going to have to add a line onto your contract for that.
Well, no, I think that's cool. I like the idea of adding a line. I also like that the idea that the car is a hotspot. So when people get in, they can connect to the hotspot. That's dope.
Yeah, but see, that sucks, though, that you really do have to add a line. I haven't actually checked.
Yes, you do have to add a line. I'm sure you don't have to, but if you want to use the data, it might help if you add a line. And they didn't specify how much that's going to be. If it's just going to be another $10 or how much data it's going to be.
I guarantee it'll at least be like $30.
It would have to be because
for 2 gig or something.
They talked about the Audi. They talked about the Audi Connect software that was going to be, it was all going to be powered by Google Maps and all this stuff. I mean, that's like, that's data-heavy software we're talking about, and if it's going to be going all the time, because your GPS is always going.
Yeah.
So that would be intense. Audi's going to have to, or AT&T's going to have to do something crazy.
I do think it would be nice for them to have some sort of, car focus where, if a bunch of manufacturers are going to use it, you could buy a car knowing you're going to have a certain amount of features available to you in an entertainment center. Because as it is right now, depending on what manufacturer you go into, and then you got to upgrade to, a specific package, and even then their software is kind of like crap. I think to have like an Android-based where, even if you have to have obviously you're not going to have the same app market, I don't think, although someone may be able to eventually make it where you could ROM it up and stuff, but I don't know if you'd want to.
Yeah.
But
I bricked my phone. I mean, my car.
That was one of the announcements from Nvidia this week. Was their virtual, not command
Dash.
module.
Dash.
No, the VCM behind the dash is a standardized chipset that they've put together that they're working with companies so that they can hand out those to the cars, and it'll kind of make a little bit of a standard for companies to build those smart entertainment systems off of. Now, I feel like if that gained enough traction to where all the car companies could get behind that and then, say, oh, I just want to upgrade to that, or, Google came out and endorsed that and said, we're going to make Android run on this, and if you want to get Android in your car, you can upgrade to this, and we've got all these auto partners. I think that'd be cool, but what Dave spoke about is probably what's exactly going to happen is each car manufacturer is going to have something different, and it's just going to turn into a giant mess.
Yeah, like they already do now. It would be nice, though, if they did, like, when you bought a car, you get 6 free months of AT&T LTE or something like that. Like they do with Sirius in cars now. They'll give you first, 3 months free or something. It'd be nice if they did that with LTE.
That would be cool to see if you really want it. Yeah, totally. I'm down with that. Give you some OnStar while you're at it. I like it.
I just am glad to see these companies, especially Google with Android, talking about cars now, because car navigation systems are so awful.
Yeah, they're god awful.
It's so bad. So anything to improve them at this point, please bring it on. We need real touch screens and things that actually do work. Rather, I don't know how it takes me so long to do anything on mine. I can't get anything done on it ever. The only thing it does good now is pair Bluetooth well. Especially now that we're on Bluetooth.
See, I could get behind having all access right there on my dash.
That would be awesome.
Google Maps, Pandora's right there. Just but I want the fluidity of it being using my tablet right now.
Yeah, just like a tablet dock that acts as your dash kind of thing. That would be your infotainment system. That would be dope.
Google just need to partner with them to just throw Nexus 7s in there or something. It would be great.
Exactly.
With an LTE SIM already inserted.
Yeah.
Doesn't one of the Tesla cars have that, where it's just the Nexus 7? in the middle of the dash.
They have a giant, like, 24-inch screen or something. I don't even know what it is. Yeah,
18-inch.
Is that what it is? But it can basically run Android. Haven't they announced that in the future will probably?
Yeah, they were talking about that.
Yep. So cars. Not to bringing up wearables, but the Pebble Steel was announced.
Yeah, that too.
That one looks.
I ordered one.
Yeah, that one looks pretty good.
I'll probably wear it for a week.
I think the plastic, the Pebble was never my thing, so I'm happy that they're moving towards steel or whatever the heck is made out of, metal.
Some kind of metal.
Some kind of metal.
250, I believe.
I will say, for a smartwatch, the steel version is quite good looking. It is. Yeah. I just don't know if the software behind it is enough for me to say, all right, I'm ready to wear a smartwatch.
Yeah. So I reviewed Pebble when it first came out, and that was almost a year ago now. And I actually put it back on for CES this week, just because in and out of meetings, walking around, I didn't want to have to keep pulling my phone out for everything, so I was getting notifications on it, and it did come in handy quite often. It's, I have the all black one, and I know Tim always says it's a really ugly, terrible-looking watch. I wouldn't go quite that far, but I'm also not exactly a fan of the current one and how it looks, because it does look kind of cheap. So I'm excited for this new one. Hopefully it looks a little more premium, and then it still has the functionality, because Pebble actually does some pretty cool stuff, and they announced new partners with, I think, like ESPN and Pandora and all that stuff, so you'll be able to control that stuff soon. They have an app store coming. It's easily, in my mind, easily the best smartwatch you can buy right now, even though it has, an e-paper display. It's just, and I wore the thing all week and it didn't die, and Tim was wearing a rose gold Galaxy Gear, and how many times do you have to charge that thing?
Only like 3 times, but...
Only 3 times in 4 days.
Excuse me, but how many compliments did I get on my Gear, and how many did you get on Pebble?
That is true.
Yeah, everyone. Everyone was... I was being stopped just by random people in casinos who were like, what is that watch you're wearing? I was like, this sexy thing? This is Galaxy Gear in rose gold,
you mean
baby.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, and...
You mean the casino security was coming over to kick you out for cheating with
Yes, exactly. But no, I was really happy with the Gear. The setup that I had going, I would have my Note 3 in a backpack, and I would have the Nexus 5 in my pocket. That way I could have this sync to the Note 3, and I could see my notifications on it. But I wouldn't have to whip out the huge Note 3. I could just pull out the Nexus 5 and get the notifications through there. And I could just take little cool pictures on this thing if I needed to or something. Like, I had a great time, and it looks fantastic. So, what's funny is I was telling Ken, I was like, maybe I wouldn't have been so harsh on Galaxy Gear in my review if I had the rose gold edition, because I feel like my entire view on this device completely changed after having the rose gold one. Especially I turned on the pedometer setting, and you can see real time the counts being taken and all that. I mean, in the first day we walked 8+ miles, and it was just ridiculous. It was a lot. It actually came in handy. I don't care if I had to charge it about 3 times over the course of the week. I mean, I had to charge my phone every 6 hours. So to me, it really wasn't it wasn't a deal breaker. Oh my God, charge my watch. Whatever. I mean, I have to charge my computer every night. I mean, it's just one more thing you have to charge, and at some point you just have to get over yourself and be like, okay, I'm going to take up one more outlet and just charge something else that I really liked. So I was fine with it.
It is funny, though, that you used it and you just tossed the Note 3 in your backpack. You're like, I don't really want to use the Note 3. I just want the notification. So let me just throw this bad boy in my... Yeah,
and it worked great.
If Samsung would open that up so it works with other phones besides their Galaxy phones, I'd probably wear one and deal with charging, because they're starting to get a little bit better, and I'm like Tim, I kind of like the look of it too, but... So anyways, new Pebble Steel. I wore one all week, and it came in handy. We've got a new one coming, and Tim rocked the RG Galaxy Gear.
RG, yep, RG3.
Yeah. So that's kind of CES in terms of news.
Yeah.
Anything else that stuck out? Can't really think of anything. I feel like that's what we covered.
Tech-wise, no.
TVs. Everywhere we went, people kept going. Yeah, everywhere we went, people kept saying, "What's blowing you away so far at CES?" And we always went, nothing really.
Yep.
Pretty much. Outside of news stuff, though, we still had a good time as always.
As always.
Good time as always.
You find fun stuff to do.
Yeah, our our CES dinner that we do every year. Went to Mastro's Ocean Club. Fantastic.
That was ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. That was good. No Dennis Rodman stories for you guys this year. He was, again, in Korea getting yelled at by media and whoever else. So that didn't happen. No celebrity sightings, really. Like Shaq was in the house.
Yeah, Shaq was in the house. Mark Cuban in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Bay.
Obviously, Michael Bay was in the house.
Yeah.
I think I came out $300 up, though. That's 2 trips in a row for me. I walked out up in Vegas. That never happens for me.
Not bad.
Not bad at all, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why the casino security was over there talking to you guys, because
Kellen got yelled at, or more like made fun of by the blackjack dealer. He's like, "Oh, he just amateur." It was like hysterical.
Man. Well, yeah, so
beginner's luck.
So I sat down at this table. Is that MGM? Yeah, I sat down at this table, and there was no one at it, which is usually not always the best sign or best idea to do. But I kind of like just dealing with a dealer by myself, and it was single deck. And so I sit down, and she basically just tells me that she's just been killing people all day, and that's why there's no one sitting there, and that I should go to another table. And I said, well, now I'm staying because I'm going to beat you. It's kind of what I said. And and I did. I killed her. And but she was fine. And, she was giving me a terrible time because it's not like I'm this pro blackjack player by any means. Like, I understand enough to play and win a little bit here and there. But so a couple of times she was just treating me like I was dumb. And she was funny about it. Like, she was nice. Tim and I liked her. And so I think I took her for a couple $100 or something. And so I finally like, all right, let's get out of here. Tim taught me to walk away, which I'm not very good at usually when I gamble. And as we're walking away, her pit boss came right over to her. And before we were too far away, I could hear her say to the pit boss, "Yeah, that was beginner's luck." And I was like, "Oh, I heard that." I was so mad. Tim's like, she was probably just saying it to her boss, so she didn't get in trouble. But yeah. Tim, you're muted.
I'm muted, but now I'm not. Dave had to take off. He wanted to say goodbye to everybody, but he didn't want to interrupt. So.
Yeah. Bye, Dave.
Bye, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Vegas is always a good time. We went to an iHeartRadio party that they were throwing. Oh man, it was in Hayes, which is in the Aria, and Hayes is like a really big nightclub. It was like it had to have been over like the fire code or whatever. Just
you couldn't walk through there, yeah.
It was so packed, and there was an open bar, so it was packed. It was ridiculous. Great time. Cruella played. It's like house music, wannabe like dubstep stuff. It was a good time. Let's see, what else? Not much. Yeah, not much.
Yeah, we didn't really have a wild time.
This week was pretty tame.
I think this was our 4th year, so we're just kind of used to it now. We try not to do anything too crazy. We did meet up with some of the other guys and play that weirdly weird horse token game for a while. Oh, you didn't get to play that, did you?
I was busy.
It was tough. Some guy with a giant perm was there, like trying to create weird competitions and yelling at everyone. It was really awkward.
Start a tournament.
Let's start a tournament. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't really know what else happened. It was another good time.
Yeah.
We're excited to be back. I'm actually excited for this year to now finally get started. CES just kind of takes place in its own time period, time zone, whatever. And once it's over, you can actually kick off the year, I feel like. So next week, our coverage should basically be back to normal. Hopefully we can start hype beasting MWC and the new HTC phone and the Galaxy S5, which has apparently been confirmed to be coming in March or April, right, by one of their executives. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, April. Galaxy S5 going to come with a new Galaxy Gear.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that. So we'll hopefully start seeing that stuff. And any of these new devices that actually make their way to the U.S., we'll get our hands on them, hopefully do reviews if they're worth it, that kind of thing. Sort of like normal. But anyways, yeah, next week we should kind of be back to normal schedule, normal life. No more holidays, no more CES.
Yeah, get back to work, you guys.
Yeah. So, unless you guys have anything else, wrap it up. Let people go on their Friday. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us. A CES recap special Droid Life episode. We can't really call it an episode.
It's
46 will be next week. I think we're back next week, right?
Yes.
Just double checking.
45.5.
Yeah, there's a Blazers game, but I'm selling those tickets, so we'll be here.
All right.
All right, Droid Life. Peace.
Deuces.